Arthur is a child who is reincarnated into a world full of magic. His family soon notices that he possesses an extraordinary power with which he rules this world. Our story begins with a child opens his eyes as a newborn. He finds his mother and father looking at him with love and joy. The parents comment on how their newborn child has facial features similar to their own and are overjoyed by the arrival of their newest family member. The father, Reynolds, names his son Arthur and immediately wants Arthur to call him Papa. However, the mother, Alice, thinks Arthur is too young for that. While the two young parents are goofing around with their new child, Arthur wonders who these two people are and why they are claiming to be his parents if they really are who they claim to be. That would mean he somehow died in his previous life and has been reborn with his memories intact. Arthur looks at the starry night sky, not believing that after his countless victories and world domination, he's been reduced by the gods to a powerless infant. He is embarrassed, to say the least, and the fact that he has to go through the process of burping is giving him secondhand embarrassment. Arthur doesn't hate his current life, as both his parents are taking good care of him, but he is still displeased. He doesn't want to wear diapers, and he also has a constant sense of fear that someone might hurt him. All he can do to keep his guard up is clench his fists. Arthur's father notices this and uses the opportunity to place his finger under Arthur's hand to show his wife how much their son loves him. Arthur struggles to move, and as he presses too hard, he poops himself. And now his mom has to be the one to clean him. The embarrassment almost makes Arthur want to cry. He wants this bizarre dream to end, but unfortunately, this is the harsh reality he must face from now on. Putting that aside, Arthur witnesses something even stranger. His dad is able to conjure magic and use it to boost his strength. His mom also possesses magic and uses it to heal his dad, making Arthur wonder how magic works, as it is a power he has been unfamiliar with in his past life. He is genuinely fascinated by magic and wants to see more to do so. He realizes he must grow up first. Meanwhile, his dad enters the forest and subjugates a beast using his strengthening magic. Soon after, his group of friends visits him to hang out. Let me tell you, they will all play an important role in the later story. Back to Arthur, since he has nothing else to do. He examines his surroundings and absorbs as much knowledge as possible because, universally, knowledge is power. Reynolds comes back home after the hunting session, and Arthur wonders if he is now in a society where every single individual is allowed to own weapons. If this is the case, it means there is a level of danger outside that has made it so Arthur believes it's only reasonable for him to obtain powers as quickly as he can to adapt to this world. Arthur has many questions which he unfortunately cannot ask yet. But despite all his frustrations, he still feels happy because he gets to have wholesome, priceless moments with his parents in his previous life. Arthur didn't even have the freedom to sleep peacefully because his enemies tried to assassinate him every night now that he is finally experiencing peace. He becomes accustomed to his new life. After days, weeks, and perhaps months, he learns to crawl and quickly makes his way to the mirror to see how good he looks after getting used to crawling and gaining good control over his limbs. Arthur sneaks out of his bed whenever his parents aren't around and heads to the library there. He grabs a book wanting to learn more about this world and discovers that the continent he was born in is called Dickan. Dickan contains 3 kingdoms: the Darv Kingdom, where dwarves reside, the Elenwar Kingdom, where elves rule deep within a forest, and finally the Sapin Kingdom, where humans live, including Arthur. Arthur's nation is a monarchy, but the throne is inherited, unlike his previous world where anyone could seize the throne. By killing the previous king after gathering basic information about this world, Arthur looks for a book on magic, and in a very cute way, grabs it off the shelf. After getting the book from the shelf, Arthur begins to reminisce on how more developed his previous life was compared to this one. The book he had taken from the shelf was to make him understand why this is so. He intends to study magic, which the people of this world refer to as mana. This can only be passed down from generations to generations and can be seen in just 1 out of 100 people. Furthermore, only 2 forms of mana exist in the world, and they are augmenting, which involves enhancing the body's abilities with mana, and conjuring, which involves projecting mana and controlling it. However, the conjure pleases. While reading this, he is reminded of his mother's abilities earlier, which clearly proves that she is a conjurer. Although every person that possesses mana has a mana core, which most spellcasters tap into at the beginning of puberty, when they do this well and master it, they can now become mages. Having read this, Arthur believes it is similar to the concept of Kai, which he is very familiar with. However, he is skeptical about whether this knowledge would serve as a weapon for him, being the wannabe Konga warrior. At that moment, he channels his inner Kai and is about to attain a certain level when his mother, Alice, interrupts him. She carries him up like the bay he is and looks at him closely at first. He thinks she has caught on to his charade, but she soon reveals that he must have __ himself, which he clearly did. The stench while Alice goes to change his diapers. Arthur is devastated by how much of a prison this body was becoming. He vows to gain more power later on Alice, spends time documenting aspects of Arthur's life, and is so pleased with how much he is improving in this world. However, she is bothered about the fact that he has never smiled at them with Ive. Thought of this makes her sad. He looks out the window to find her husband Rye teaching Arthur how to use a sword. He is so happy to inform Alice about Arthur's progress, but she is pissed at him for teaching their young son a very harmful skill. Sorry, man, women are hard to understand hand. She believes he is too young to learn how to use a sword and scolds her husband loudly. On the other hand, Arthur watches them closely and uses them as a framework to understand the structure of marriage, even though he is starting to believe that the world they live in could be ruled by women. Later that day, Alice takes Arthur to the market, and he is so thrilled at everything he sees. Every single item he lays his eyes on seems like a lesson to learn for him. Now I understand why babies look around like they know the place, especially items that didn't exist in his previous world. He even got to observe magic up close, which he found very helpful on the way back. He is gradually falling asleep, but before then thinks about how helpful his family has been to him. They finally get home, and Alice takes him to his room. On the way, she talks about how happy she is whenever he slips out of bed to read, and how curious he is whenever they are at the market. She believes he had gotten these qualities from his father, Ray, just like him. She comes to the conclusion that he could end up running off to see the world, but hopes that he would get to live a more peaceful life that evening. Arthur watches his father do some magic and is thrilled at the thought of having someone he could learn from closely. He watches his father raise a few rocks from the ground and changes his mind before he could get incredibly disappointed. Alice comes around. She assures him that Rye is just getting started and urges him to watch even more closely. At that moment, Rye amplifies his magic and ends up pulling off some advanced skills. Watching him do this, Arthur immediately figures that his father is an augmenter. He gets pumped to do a trick of his own, but his daydream is cut short when his mom informs him that it is now his bedtime while she carries him to his room. He comes across a book on the shelf and continues to point at him, crying out loudly for her to let him read it. After a brief moment of unleashing his cute face, she is forced to let him read it for a while. Can anyone tell me how this worked? Just as he reads the book, he reminds himself of all the knowledge he has gained in his bid to produce a mana core for himself. He begins to channel all the mana from various points in his body. To one point, he does this for a while, and at the time when his parents thought he would probably be asleep, a loud explosion comes from within the house. When this happens, Ray dives quickly to protect his wife and ends up getting his back burned. After verifying that Alice is safe, they both remember that they had left Arthur in the house. Hurriedly, they run into the house and are surprised to their bones when they find Ray floating mid-air. They are left dumbfounded at the sight of this and do nothing but watch him as he descends to the ground just as he does so. The roof begins to fall since he was just a child. Arthur couldn't move out of the way in time, but his parents swiftly shield him from what could have been his reunion with the underworld. Soon after, they all burst into tears, with Arthur realizing that Alice and Rye would do all they can to keep him safe, a sense of assurance he never got in his past life. Then we see a scene from the past where we see Arthur's father on trial because he planned to assassinate the king. This is a serious crime punishable by immediate execution according to the law, but the council took pity on him and decided that the entire family would return to their original homeland and await the verdict. Arthur's father begs them to leave his family here because returning to their homeland is worse than death. He committed the crime alone, and his family is innocent. King Grey refuses. After much pleading from Arthur's father, the king draws his sword and kills Arthur and his mother. He tells Arthur's father that he has saved his family from the suffering they would receive upon returning home. Arthur's father cries, thanks the king, and tells him he is grateful. And one morning, we see Arthur training with his father with swords. We see that Arthur is very skilled in using the sword, and his father is surprised by his talent. Then they enter the house, and the father says that Arthur needs another trainer to teach him. His intention was to teach him himself, but Arthur is very talented and needs a real teacher. He was able to cut this piece of wood even though it was reinforced with mana, and he is only 4 years old. It is better for him to receive sword training from a professional teacher. His mother strongly refuses because she doesn't want Arthur to go far away from her to another city. They start arguing. Arthur suggests that they all go together. The mother and father agree and prepare to travel. After that, Arthur's family meets the Twin Horns party. Arthur introduces himself. Then the party members begin to introduce themselves. There is Adam Crench, the girl Angela Rose, Durden Walker, the girl Jasmine Flamesworth, and finally the girl Helen Shard. Then everyone gets into the carriage, and Arthur is amazed by this mode of transport, as it doesn't resemble the means of transportation in his previous life. Then they head towards the city of Xyrus. They sit down to rest, and suddenly several wolves appear before them and attack. The party attacks and eliminates them with ease. Arthur is impressed by their strength and wants to become like them. At night, while everyone is eating their food, we see Arthur's father's arm is injured. His mother uses her magic to heal him. She possesses a rare healing power, which gives her many enemies because they want to control her. That's why she lives hidden in the countryside. Then we see Adam suggesting to Arthur that they train a little. When the fight begins between them, Adam and the rest of the party are very surprised by Arthur's strength. Then the fight ends and Jasmine approaches Arthur and asks him, "How did you do that?" Arthur refrains from speaking. Then we see everyone continuing their journey to the city. During that time, Arthur learns new things like throwing a spear and running at extreme speed. Then we see Jasmine giving Arthur a knife as a birthday gift. The party is surprised because Jasmine doesn't easily get close to anyone. Then everyone decides to continue the journey. Before getting into the carriage, Arthur notices that something is wrong with his mother. He asks her, but she tells him she is fine. Then, everyone gets into the carriage and they set off. Along the way, bandits appear and attack them. The party attacks them with all their strength and kills some of them, but Arthur realizes that the number of bandits is very large and this will lead to their defeat. Then one of the bandits attacks Arthur's father. The father tells Arthur to take his mother and escape so the bandits cannot discover her power. Arthur refuses and tells him he will fight with them and use his power to protect his mother. His father tells him he must escape with his mother because his mother is pregnant and he must protect her no matter the cost. He forces Arthur to accept that he will become an older brother and must protect his mother and his sibling. Then Arthur takes his mother and starts to flee. When the bandits try to stop them, the father kills them with the help of the party. Then we see one of the bandits standing on top of the hill, seeing Arthur and his mother escaping. He uses his power and attacks them. Arthur throws his mother away to save her, falls from the top of the hill, throws the knife at the bandit, and they fall together. While falling, Arthur talks to himself, saying, "It's a strange feeling. I didn't gain anything, but I feel satisfied. I think I finally understood what that man was asking of me and why they shed tears. Sacrificing oneself without hesitation to save one's family, compared to the tears shed when thinking one will never see them again. Joy and sadness together. Right, I was going to be an older brother. That would have been great. But it wasn't meant to be for me." Then Arthur falls down. And thus ends our episode today of That Anime. To follow more episodes, please subscribe to the channel and activate the bell icon to receive all new updates. Then we see Arthur, and before him a very large dragon, or a terrifying monster. Arthur began to tremble and shake with fear. Arthur tried to attack it, but of course to no avail, as this is a very giant monster. It hits him with a blow that knocks him to the ground again. Then it speaks to him and says, "You still have a lot to learn, little one, but I am your ally." Arthur is surprised and says to her, "What do you mean by this?" But the dragon ignores him, goes and brings some glowing yellow fruits and tells him to eat something even if he is not hungry. He must eat anything, and he will not get any answer if he does not start eating now. So Arthur ate a lot and asked her, "Do you know anything about my father and mother?" She told him that she does not know the unseen, but she can do something by using satellites. When she did that, she said to him, "Good news, your family is alive. They continued their journey a few days ago." Arthur cries, but not out of sadness, but tears of joy, because they are fine, thank God. Then that monster introduces herself, and her name is Sylvia. They began to get to know each other more, and a few days passed, and Arthur's wounds were completely healed, and he wanted to return home as quickly as possible. But it seems that this will not happen anytime soon, because Sylvia told him that they are on the edge of the Shire Forest, where this place is full of wild animals and bandits. And she knows that he wants to return home as soon as possible, but causing a space rift requires a lot of preparation. But the strange thing is that Sylvia never talked about herself, but her strange appearance instilled fear in my heart more than once. Arthur began to train with the stick in his hand, then used a glowing power from his body. Sylvia was surprised that he possessed that power at his young age, so she said to him, "Well, can you do that power?" and used her power as if it were a ball of embers. And Arthur was surprised that this was possible and kept looking at her intently. She offered to teach him those things, but before that, she asked him, a direct question, which was, what will you do with the knowledge after learning it? What do you intend to do with that power? He said to her, I will eliminate everyone who tries to deprive me of everything I value. So she hits him with a blow that kicks him away, and Arthur gets angry with her and asks her, why did you do that? Isn't it natural to kill your enemies? The demoness replies, do you enjoy filling your head with thoughts like that? She then places her finger on Arthur's head and tells him that her hands are capable of tearing him apart, but also of touching him gently. She asks, which would you prefer? Arthur replies that he prefers the gentle touch. The demoness agrees, saying that anger and hatred burn easily and manifest as violence. They may give a fleeting sense of satisfaction, but in the end, only hatred remains. She advises Arthur never to give in to such feelings. Then she asks him what he would do with his power once he becomes stronger than he is now. Arthur remembers his family and loved ones and tells the demoness that he will use his power to protect everyone around him from any danger. Meanwhile, we see King Grey Sam waking from his sleep. He heads to see Marlin, who greets him with, welcome, King Grey Sam. Grey speaks to himself mockingly, saying, King? That's just a title. All the authority was in the hands of the Parliament. They depleted the nation's resources, imports declined, and instead of waging wars and gaining spoils, I became lazy and failed to act. Marlin approaches and asks, what brings you here today? The king doesn't respond and simply walks away. Back in the cave, we see Arthur practicing his magic. The demoness instructs him to gather mana while using it. Once he masters this, his magical options will greatly expand. Arthur thinks to himself, I've always wanted to control and master my mana. After several minutes of using magic, Arthur's body begins to glow. He realizes his magical abilities have increased and that he now has better control over mana. Suddenly, the demoness traps Arthur within stones. Arthur is confused, not understanding what just happened. Then, another demon appears. He asks her, who is this child? He resembles Sylvia. I found you by following the scent of blood. He demands that she come with him, but when she refuses, he resorts to violence and attacks her with his magic. Angered, the demoness amplifies her power, transforms into a mighty dragon, and fiercely attacks the demon. Arthur is amazed by her strength. The demon becomes furious and unleashes a massive amount of mana, launching a barrage of powerful attacks. He then delivers an extremely powerful blow. But the demoness blocks the attack, uses a strange power, and suddenly, it's as if time itself has stopped. Sylvia calls Arthur and asks him to come closer, so Arthur approaches her and asks her what happened. She replies that she used his power now. Then she asks him what he thinks of her, as she has become almost Sylvia. Arthur is worried because she has become a dragon, so she tells him that they must hurry, as she thought the exit was close here, but it is far away, but everything will be fine. Then she taught Arthur what he needs to survive. Then she asked him what he would use his power for, and he replied that he wanted to protect the people he valued. Sylvia told him that she wanted to give him these gifts. Then she gave him this ball, and then asked him to wrap his feather around it and keep it. Then she drew these drawings on his hands, and Arthur did not know what this was. She told him that he would know when the time came. Then it was time to say goodbye, and Arthur asked her not to walk so fast. She told him that she could have sent him home immediately, but she did not want to do that. Then she told him that she enjoyed living here with him very much. Arthur spoke to her and said that he knew he could not protect her with his power despite everything she had taught him, and the promise she had made was inevitable. He was very shocked how the following words came out naturally. Afterwards, Arthur keeps asking himself if his gratitude to her is what caused this feeling, and did the time they spent together change him? He doesn't care if Sylvia is a dragon or a monster. She is a member of his family. Sylvia rejoices that Arthur called her grandma. Then Sylvia cries and thanks him. Arthur takes the feather and the magic orb, but says to her, I can't do this. I want you to come with me. Arthur then disappears. Then this monster comes and uses his magic to throw him at Sylvia, and she falls to the ground. Then the monster speaks to her. That wasn't a killing blow, not for a creature like you, nor with a blow like that. The monster approaches Sylvia, and Sylvia gets up and attacks the monster, and the place explodes. After that, we see Arthur remembering Sylvia, and he is very sad. She told him that the world is full of sorrows, so we must turn them into happiness. If you can't do that now, then step by step. That's what I want for you, and I know you can do it. You are the most powerful king of all. Don't let anger and hatred fill your heart. Let light flood your new life. We see Arthur in the forest crying a lot for Sylvia. and putting the things he had with him in his bag. And then he hears a voice coming from behind him. Thus ends today's episode of this anime. Wait for us in the upcoming episodes. If you liked the video, don't forget to subscribe and activate the bell button so that you receive all the new things. Our episode begins with Arthur, who had become incredibly powerful. Suddenly, he hears someone screaming. Instantly, he pinpoints the location with ease and rushes off, leaping from tree to tree like Tarzan. At last, he arrives at the scene and sees a group of bandits attempting to kidnap a girl. Yes, one of the 1,000 girls, as they call them. They were likely planning to sell her in the slave market and make a fortune. Arthur is reminded of a time when he was in a similar situation. Back then, many bandits had appeared, and he had carefully watched and tracked their every move. They had even said, before selling her, they wanted to enjoy her a little. Night falls, and Arthur remains perched above, watching and waiting to see what they'll do. Then he stirs a pack of dogs into action, which causes the bandits to beat one of their victims savagely. Arthur, enraged, finally reveals himself. He kills one of the bandits, grabs the second by the neck and snaps it, then targets the third. As that man approaches, Arthur slashes his leg, making him scream in pain. Then he faces the fourth, who seems stronger than the others. This man tells Arthur, "We should take you instead and sell you at the slave market. We'd make a fortune off a magical kid like you." He lunges at Arthur, who dodges the attack and tries to land a strong kick, but the villain evades it. Clearly a skilled fighter, Arthur makes another move, attempting to ensnare him with a thread to steal his dagger, but the man catches it and sneers, "Impressive, boy, you've got some cunning tricks." Then he charges and punches Arthur hard in the stomach, knocking him down. He lifts Arthur by the leg and tells him to surrender. He has no chance of winning. But Arthur never gives up. He uses his powers to burn the man's leg, causing him to scream in pain. The villain growls, "There's no choice now. I'll kill you and sell your corpse instead." Arthur focuses, aims for the man's forehead, and hurls a poisoned dagger, ending him instantly. Then he returns to the third person again until he finishes him off. That person pleads with him, "Please don't kill me, please. I don't want to die. Let me live." Here, Arthur speaks and says to him, "I'm sure that girl who was with you asked you for the same thing and you paid her no attention." Then he kills him and goes to the girl to save her from what she was in. He unties her and tells her that it is safe now and she can go home. She becomes very sad because he was harmed because of her, but he tells her that it is very normal, just superficial wounds. Then he covers those fools so that the little girl doesn't get scared, as there are things children shouldn't see. She tells him, "You are a child too." He tells her that this is true, but he is used to this. She asks him because she doesn't know what happened to those evil men who kidnapped her, and Arthur stutters, trying to tell her that they were in a terrible accident, but says, "Don't worry, you are safe now." She grabs his arm and tells him that she is very scared, so don't leave me and go. He tells her that he must return to his family, and as for the evil men, they will not chase her again. But she was scared, and after much insistence that he come with her, Arthur agrees to accompany her. Then they look at the dogs, and she says to him, "We must release them so they don't die." He tells her that they are wild dogs, but she was determined and says to him, "No, they are beautiful and gentle dogs." Then she releases them, and they leave safely and happily. After that, Arthur and the elven girl began to move inside the forest until the sunrise of the next day appeared, and they were still on their way. Then they sat down to take a rest, and Arthur asks her about her name. She introduces herself, and her name is Tessia. Then he offers her a meal, as she must be very hungry. He remembers what the dragon did to him when it greeted him. Arthur walked around speaking like the dragon. Sylvie. Then Tessia asks him what he is doing in that forest. He tells her that he has lost his way and that they are now lost, and also because he was separated from his family. He asks her how things are in the land of the elves. Tessia replied to him that the place in Elenoir is very pleasant. Her parents are very busy, so she spends a lot of time with her grandfather and those who take care of her. They sit in this place, and Arthur asks her about these insects. She replies that they are wonderful, and they have many of them in Elenoir. They use them to teach the way all the time. "I will train at my teacher's house after I awaken my..." Then, while they are on their way, Arthur senses a beast behind them. Later that night, Arthur thinks that the previous forest dogs had to be killed. Then he asks Tessia to go into the tent for a while, saying he will watch the area. Arthur sees the things Sylvie gave him, but Tessia calls out to him because she cannot sleep, saying, "If you stay outside, won't the beasts notice you and see that you are a child? I am only thinking of our safety. That's why I think you should watch from inside the tent." Then Arthur enters the tent with her to reassure her and so she won't be afraid. She asks him, "Are you from the human kingdom? I heard that all human men are perverted and take multiple wives." He tells her that he is sure there are perverts among the elves, too. Do you even know what perverted means? Basically, only some nobles take multiple wives. While he is talking to her, she falls asleep. The next day, Arthur thinks to himself that Tessia has become very comfortable around him. It seems she has forgotten about the slave traders. To be honest, I was feeling annoyed since I was worried about my family and wanted to see them quickly. After that, something unexpected happened. He feels unbearable pain emanating from his mana core. Tessia helps him and looks for herbs, but Arthur's pain does not improve. Suddenly, this beast appears. When Tessia sees it, she becomes very scared, but the beast gives them a small animal and then leaves. Tessia says, I think it is returning the favor because we treated it well. After that, they eat the small animal that the beast gave them and are very impressed by it. Then Arthur says to himself that children need meat to grow. Tessia says that they didn't find any medicinal herbs, but she found some mushrooms, saying they are very nutritious and the women of Eleanor eat them all the time, but she thinks they might be too strong for men. They find Arthur looking tired with heavy eyelids. Then Tessia asks him to tell her a bedtime story, stories about the human kingdom and the divided states. They make me want to visit them someday, but there are evil people in both countries, it seems. That's why the people of Eleanor, the people of the Beastglades, don't trust the human inhabitants in particular. After that, we see Arthur very tired because he is a child and very weak. Tessia wants Arthur to treat each other as friends. Arthur agrees to this, and then tells her, I saw something, moss and leaves and many trees. Then they reach this place and find a beam of light coming out of this tree. Tessia tells him, we have finally arrived. She wants to take Arthur with her. They enter this place, and we see these people taking Arthur. Then Tessia wants to help him, but we discover that she might have kidnapped him. This is the end of today's episode of this anime. Wait for me in the upcoming episodes. If you liked the video, don't forget to subscribe and activate the bell button to receive all the latest updates. When we see the guards holding Arthur, asking him who allowed him to trespass, Arthur realizes that Tessia betrayed him, and he didn't take caution around her due to her innocence. Then Arthur calls out to Tessia, but she doesn't respond. He remembers when he was talking to her while walking, and she told him she would only call him by his first name so they could be close friends. Arthur realizes that all of that was to make him trust her. Then, when the guard orders Arthur to be killed, Tessia is surprised and tells them to stop and release him. The guard tells her that he is dangerous and one of the violent humans. She tells him that Arthur is not dangerous, he saved her and orders them to release him immediately. The guard tells her that he pretended to help her to brainwash her, but in reality, he is a dangerous person. Suddenly, that green light appears, the mana of that grandfather, and they see Virion Aerolith, Tessia's grandfather, and the former ruler of the Eleanor Kingdom. Then Tessia approaches Arthur to see if he is all right, and the grandfather tells him that he is grateful to him for helping Tessia. He tells him that Tessia is the princess of Eleanor, and Arthur is surprised because he didn't know that. Then her father and mother arrive, and Tessia rushes to them, hugging them and crying, because she was very scared when she was alone. When King, Tessia's father, sees Arthur, he is surprised by the presence of a human among them and orders the guards to seize him immediately. However, Grandfather Virion tells him that he released Arthur because he saved Tessia, and whether he is savage or not, this boy saved her and brought her back to them and does not deserve execution. Tessia tells them that Arthur saved her, so they should not mistreat him and should honor his hospitality in the castle. Then Tessia approaches him and tells him that they will go to the castle and she will share her duties with him. Arthur hesitates, but the king tells them that there is no objection to him going to the castle. Then Grandfather Virion says to Arthur that they will talk later, and he thinks to himself that he senses Arthur's mysterious power and that this matter must be discovered. Then Arthur and Tessia go to the Eleanor Kingdom, and Arthur is amazed by the kingdom. They see all its inhabitants looking at him angrily, and Arthur realizes that the elves and humans seem to be in a state of constant hostility due to past conflicts. Then he looks at Tessia and thinks about her previous angry glances when the guards arrested him, and he decides that he will not let his guard down as he did before. Then they enter the palace, and they see the maids welcoming Tessia. Tessia tells them to honor the hospitality of her savior, Arthur. Then she assures them that he is not a bad human, and Tessia begins to think about the food that the servants will prepare for Arthur. Then Tessia's father and mother come, and Arthur tells them that he wants to tell them what brought him here. They all go to the meeting room with Grandfather Virion, and Arthur stands before everyone. Tessia tells him to sit down so he can speak comfortably and suggests that they drink tea and eat some snacks while talking. Then Tessia's father introduces himself as the current king of Eleanor, named Aldwin Erelith, and his wife, Tessia's mother, Queen Mariel Erelith. Then Arthur introduces himself as Arthur Lewin from a humble town in the kingdom of Sapin, and that he is greatly honored to meet the king of the elves. King Alduin tells him, "You are educated enough for someone of low standing." Now Arthur continues his story, explaining how he was separated from his family due to a bandit ambush, but Arthur withheld some details. He didn't lie, but he didn't provide the complete truth. When he began talking about meeting Tessia, the atmosphere in the room changed completely. When the father learns that Tessia was kidnapped by slave traders, he becomes very angry. Arthur apologizes to him and tells him that slave traders are united by their profession, not their race. Grandfather Virio asks him, "If you saw slave traders kidnapping Tessia as a child, what would you have done to save her? Would you have negotiated with them, or would you have begged them to release her?" Arthur tells him that he did neither. He used magic to save Tessia. One of the guards becomes angry and prepares to raise his sword, telling Tessia that Arthur is a monster and should not be trusted. Grandfather Virion orders him to put his weapon down and not to contradict him again. Tessia remembers when she was kidnapped, and her mother hugs her and reassures her. Then Tessia's father tells Arthur that he believes him. Then Arthur asks him for a favor, to return to his family in Sapin. The father says to him, "After seeing the hostility we harbor towards humans with your own eyes, do you ask me to show our gratitude to you, a human?" And Arthur tells him, "If the elves claim that humans are savage and vile, then I can only believe that they would not act in a base manner." Aldun tells him that the hatred between elves and humans cannot be easily erased, but more importantly, the instantaneous transfer gate to Sapin is not accessed by the Council of the Three Races, which convenes every 7 years, and the gate will not open again for another 5 years. However, he cannot allow a human like him to wander among them for a long time, and will ask some soldiers to escort him to his homeland. Arthur thanks him for this and feels a surge of joy, thinking to himself, "Finally, I can go home. I've missed my family so much." But at that moment, he feels a throbbing in his heart and a very sharp pain. The matter grows worse. But Arthur doesn't know what is happening or what this episode is that comes over him. Even when he was bathing, he felt that episode again and wonders, why is this happening to me? After that, he goes to this place because he loves this breeze, the evening breeze, as it alleviates his pain a little. But he must understand what is causing these episodes. At that moment, he remembers his father and mother and thinks, "I hope they are all right. I'm sure they escaped safely. I've missed them so much." He looks at the king, the queen, and Tessia and thinks, "I wish I could go home too and see my father and mother's joy at my return." Tessia sees him and runs to him quickly, then apologizes to him, saying, "I am so sorry about my family. They treated you very rudely. You know the great animosity between humans and elves." He tells her that it's okay and thanks God that he is still all right. Then he says to her, "I also miss going back to my family, even though the bandits attacked me and my family, and it was because of me too. They went through so much trouble because of me. I couldn't protect them. I wonder if they miss me as much as I miss them now." Desio holds his face and says to him, "Of course your parents are sad because they cannot see you. Why, even I, who spent only 3 days with you, was already sad about your departure before you even left. So what about your parents and family?" Then they see very beautiful green flowers. She tells him, "These flowers are the beautiful fireflies." Meanwhile, Arthur wonders and says, "What did I see in her expressions when they wanted to kill me? Her gaze was very loud, as if she didn't bear me any ill will, or as if her heart was cold. I couldn't interpret this matter yet." At that moment, a precise arrow comes, but Arthur catches it very quickly. Then he runs quickly to locate the target and finds that it is Lord Virion. He says to him, "Why did you do that? Were you trying to kill your granddaughter?" Lord Varian says to him, "Do you think you can kill anyone here in this place? You cannot. Rather, it was a trick I did to see what you would do. Your reaction was very fast. It seems you did kill the slave traders, as you said before. You are indeed very strong, Arthur. We were testing you, but I came here now because no one has caught my attention with this much power in a long time." Then he creates a sword for him, and Arthur accepts his duel. They were very fast, but the grandfather was much faster and stronger. He manages to break the sword with his hand very quickly. The splinter was heading towards Tessia, but Arthur manages to avoid it by hitting it with his sword at the last moment. Then he uses tremendous power towards him. After that, he lunges further and strikes him hard in the forehead, defeating him in the first round. Now they will proceed to the second round. Here, Tessia runs to her grandfather and pinches his butt, saying to him, "Enough bullying, Grandpa!" Here, Arthur intervenes and says to him, "Grandfather Virion, I am honored to play with you, and I am also honored to become your student, but unfortunately, I want to go to my family to reassure them about me. The teacher says to him, well, if there is a way to let your parents know you are all right, will you stay here and train with me? Before Arthur could think, the episode came over him again. Boy says to him, boy, you will become my disciple, otherwise you might meet your end. You now possess the will of the beasts. We do not understand the meaning of this word, but perhaps we will understand it in the next episode. Wait for us. But you must subscribe to the channel and activate the bell button so that you receive all that is new and exciting. The episode begins with Arthur seemingly expelling a great demon, screaming and weeping from this terrifying event. However, he ultimately discovers it was a dream. Tess wakes him, saying, perhaps you were dreaming. Come on, it's time to wake up. Your grandfather is waiting for you now. He replies, all right, princess, I'll get up now, but I'm not sure if I'll join you. I think I'll figure that out after I return from the trip, princess. She pinches his back and says sternly, don't call me princess, call me Tess. Tess, if you call me princess again, the scene shifts to Tess's father and grandfather. Her father says to the grandfather, please, father, you know that human doesn't belong in Elenoir. His wife agrees, saying, yes, Alduin is right, Lord Varian. Allowing him to stay here goes against customs. Why do you insist on it? Varian tells them, I was impressed by that boy, and that's all there is to it. At that moment, Tess arrives and says, Father, Arthur saved my life. He tells her it's none of her business, but Lord Virion ignores his son and says to them, come, get in. They get in, and as they travel, the grandfather remarks that the road is long. Tess falls asleep on Arthur's shoulder because she woke up early. The narrator explains that she lived a secluded life due to her status as the crown princess. Superficial friends broke her heart as a child and adult, and she no longer gets close to anyone because of it, nor does she open the doors of her heart to anyone. However, she smiles spontaneously when she is with Arthur, a smile he hasn't seen in a long time, thanking Arthur for it. Finally, they reach their destination. Who is this mysterious friend? They arrive, and the grandfather, Lord Virion, acts strangely, kicking the door and saying, we've arrived, old man, open the door. No one opens it. He tries to listen at the door, and at that moment, a very annoyed woman opens it and says, no need to shout, I can hear you, you rude old man. Then she introduces herself as his old friend Renia, a very powerful sorceress with unique skills who is willing to help him achieve his wish. Arthur welcomes her, and they enter the house, specifically a very large library. Arthur speaks, wanting to talk to his parents. He says to her, Madam, Lord Varian told me you possess a spell that will help me communicate with my parents. The old woman laughs and says, silence, boy! I know you are a special boy and that you want to talk to your family to reassure them, but there is no such thing. I can see parts of your past by summoning spirits, but I can also use spirits to deliver a message you tell me. Do you just want to reassure them? He replies, yes, that's all. Then she tells him, look into this large basin, focus your mind, and imagine your parents clearly and with as much detail as possible. Then she uses strange powers and says, speak to them as soon as you see them. Indeed, he tries to focus intently on his mother, describing her features, and also his father with blue eyes. They are shown eating a favorite meal he also used to love, as today is his birthday. As they sit down to eat, the mother brings Arthur and his father's favorite meal, but they are quickly overcome with emotion because it is his birthday. If his father hadn't asked him to protect his mother and unborn sibling, none of this would have happened. Suddenly, the parents hear a voice coming from the ceiling, where Arthur speaks to them, reassuring them that he is well and alive. He then asks them not to blame themselves for what happened and tells them that he doesn't know when he will be able to contact them again, but he doesn't want them to worry and to take care of themselves. After Arthur finishes communicating with his parents, he cries and then asks the teacher to take him as his disciple. Then we see Lord Alduin with his wife and daughter Tessia, where she speaks to him angrily because she has told him more than once that Arthur saved her life twice. If they expel him, people will think the elves are ungrateful. Her father replies that he is worried so that Arthur doesn't cause any trouble. The king's father then tells him that his granddaughter is right, that he will personally oversee Arthur's education and that he will take responsibility if anything happens. Then they meet with Arthur, where the king apologizes for his behavior, explaining that his long time on the throne has made him stubborn. He says Arthur is his granddaughter's friend and his father's first human disciple. Myriel also asks him to accept their apology and to consider this place his home. Arthur is surprised by their words, but understands that the king treats his granddaughter gently and cannot oppose his father. At that time, Tessia asks her father to let them play outside. so she can show him around. Indeed, Arthur walks around with Tessia. This is his first visit to the Elven City, and many things there pique his interest. There is a market selling many delicious fruits and sweets, which he has heard is famous, so it might run out if Arthur doesn't hurry to see it. While they are running, Arthur bumps into an elven boy who tells him that he has transmitted his human germs to him. He then asks Tessia who this person is, saying that Lord Varian must have been impressed by him, but there is no place for humans among them, and he should return home immediately. Tessia asks Arthur not to listen to them and to continue walking with her, but Arthur ignores her, starting to feel mischievous. Then the elven boy tells Tessia that although he is impressed by her bravery, if she befriends humans, her reputation will be damaged. Varith asks the princess to accompany her instead of Arthur. Arthur then mispronounces Varith's name, causing Varith to snap at him, correcting his name. Arthur replies, "I didn't realize I was in the presence of a genius. Allow me to show you the proper respect. I will be sure of this from now on. We will take our leave." Varith calls after them, "You think I don't understand sarcasm? I challenge you to a duel for the honor of Afsar's name." The princess becomes angry with him, saying, "Do you think yourself clever challenging Lord Varian's disciple to a duel? You may be presumptuous, but he needs to consider what benefits him." Varith apologizes to her, but then says to Arthur, "My father taught me never to accept a duel from a human. Or, will you flee like a monkey? Know that your decision will reflect on your teacher's honor as well. I will assume you accept the challenge if you remain silent." He asks the princess to be their judge. The duel begins, and Varith rushes at Arthur, who strikes him once, causing him to fall to the ground. The princess says, "I expected this and tried to warn him." The princess takes Varith, and they leave together. Arthur thinks to himself, "I find myself more and more fascinated by this princess." Afterward, the princess speaks to Arthur, saying, "Your training will begin today." Arthur replies, "Yes." He then remembers her grandfather, saying to him, "I will be frank with you, my training is not for the weak. It's akin to taming beasts by diving into a boiling cauldron. You have chosen to stay in this foreign land without your family support. Your daily life will also demand perseverance, but if you endure, you will gain much. So I ask you finally, are you ready? Do you still worry about the pain emanating from your mana core?" The scene returns to Arthur, who thinks, "I have suffered much to reach this stage. Training with my family and facing numerous battles were all exhilarating, because I am choosing my own future." The princess tells him, "You are right. I will also do my best in everything. I will work as hard as you will. And now, I'm hungry. Let's go eat." The scene then shifts to the forest, and Tessa's grandfather says to Arthur, "Let's begin now." Arthur thinks to himself, "Time seems to pass quickly in this new world. I have spoken and grown stronger, but the path has not been without trials, and it seems things will become more difficult the further I go. But for now, I will focus on the door before me, because the future will be exciting." This concludes today's episode of This Anime. Stay tuned for future episodes. If you liked the video, don't forget to subscribe and activate the bell button to receive all the latest updates. Then we see Tessia's father and mother leaving the palace, and Tessia tells Arthur that her parents are going to a royal family meeting. Then she offers him a sandwich and tells him to finish it all, as she made it herself. Arthur takes it, eats it, and tells her it's very delicious. Next, we see Arthur and Tessia training in combat, and their grandfather tells them they are very slow and need to speed up their attacks. Then he throws swords at them for practice, and they each make a vow to the other. Their grandfather looks at them and realizes they are ready for the next stage. They finish fighting, and their grandfather tells them they will begin the magic stage. Once the mana settles within Arthur, he will be able to master one of the four elements: fire, water, wind, and earth. The specialization is determined by race. Elves specialize in wind, water, and earth, while dwarves tend towards earth and fire, and humans have shown the ability to master all elements. Tessia asks why Arthur didn't use magic during the physical training like she did. Their grandfather tells her that it's because of a weakness, a dormant beast will within his mana core. This beast will disrupts the balance between his body and his mana core, which is the reason for his constant pain. The first step is to make his mana harmonize with his body. Then Tessia mocks him, telling him that if an elf's mana awakens at the age of 10, they are considered a gifted elf, but her mana awakened at the age of 9. Arthur wonders how that is, as Tessia is learning to fight alongside him and is his training partner. Then he asks his grandfather if he possesses additional power that would enable him to awaken the beast power within him. If they succeed in doing so, he will no longer feel any pain and will become a true beast tamer. Then the process begins, and the grandfather uses his magical power on Arthur, but a large amount of mana comes out of Arthur, and he shouts loudly and loses consciousness. They don't realize why this happened. Then Arthur wakes up in the palace and finds his grandfather beside him. His grandfather asks him where the beast will inside him came from, and Arthur tells him it's from a dragon. His grandfather is surprised and tells him never to tell anyone about this. Then his grandfather tells him that he will leave after 4 months. Arthur is excited and tells him that he thought he would stay for 2 years. His grandfather says that the 3 kingdoms will hold an exchange agreement for their youth to connect with each other, and the entrance to the city of Xeris will be open during that period. Arthur realizes that this is the reason for Tessia's parents' departure. At night, we see Arthur in his bed, and he sees the stone Sylvia gave him previously beside him. Then he discovers that it's an egg, and it hatches, and the small dragon comes out. Then the dragon bites him, and a mark appears on Arthur's arm, and he feels pain. Then Arthur realizes that the small dragon is speaking inside his mind, and Arthur asks him to call him father. Arthur names him Sylvie after his mother. Then they sleep. In the morning, Tess wakes Arthur up by pulling off his blanket. Here she's shocked because she finds a small creature. She quickly picks it up because she loves creatures and pets. This one might be a small dragon. After that, they go to the forest to train. But Tess tells Sylvie, "Come here, don't worry, I'll carry you." Sylvie objects because she's afraid of her. Then they go to the grandfather, and she says to him, "Look, Grandpa, Arthur got a pet." The grandfather is shocked and says, "Unbelievable, maybe this is a dragon. These shocks will kill me. Arthur, I'm getting shock after shock from you because of your mysterious power, and maybe there are things I haven't discovered about you yet. But no doubt it hatched when you fully harmonized with the beast will. But no matter, no one will believe you own a dragon anyway. You can just tell them it's a rare mana beast. Now let's start training. And now that you've become a beast tamer, you'll need to train your beast core and mana core simultaneously. The best way to do that is through combat. And here's something strange happens. The grandfather uses his full power and transforms into a large beast. Then he begins training Arthur, who is very amazed by what he saw. The beast disappears, and Arthur surrenders because he was very scared. The grandfather reappears in his natural form and says to him, "Well done, Arthur. That move was excellent, but unfortunately, I couldn't sense your location at all." We learn that the grandfather possesses a beast characteristic called Shadow Panther, which grants him instinctive control over the wind and also negates sound. It's a very advanced technique, but it's not without weaknesses. It's very exhausting and requires strange focus. Otherwise, it will damage the body. Now enough playing around, and let's get back to training. It's time for real training. They train, and the days pass, one after another. Over time, Arthur masters the beast will, and perhaps this was the reason for the disappearance of the pain or the seizures he used to get. Also, his body became strong enough to endure training that no one could withstand before. Days later, we see Arthur in the city with Tessia, and they are shocked by the boy Arthur hit before. Arthur doesn't remember him, but the boy says to him, "Why don't you remember me? I remember you very well. You're the newbie who defeated me in an unsportsmanlike way. Come on, face me again." He faces him and then hits him again in front of everyone. But then he smiles at him and extends a helping hand, meaning they will become friends. Then Arthur takes her and they go away. Then Arthur scolds her because she always loves trouble and is very impulsive. Tessia tells him angrily that he will return to his home and she cannot join the others in the exchange. She says he's getting angry at her just like her father always does. Then she cries and runs to her room to continue crying there. Arthur goes to her to take her with him to the forest as they used to do. Tessia becomes very happy and goes with him. While they are walking at night, Tessia tells Arthur not to enter because they were warned before. He tells her that they will run away this time if they encounter kidnappers. Then he tells her that they are safe with these wolves around. After that, they sit together in front of the fire, but Tessia is very tired and falls asleep while sitting. However, she wakes up, and Arthur asks her not to force herself to stay awake, but she refuses to sleep. Then she gets very scared in her sleep, and Arthur knows that she is still afraid of ghosts. Tessia then changes the subject and tells him that she is shivering because of the cold weather. Then she asks him about the human kingdom, and he replies that he doesn't know because he hasn't been able to see it before. The next morning, we see Arthur getting ready to return to his town, where his father and mother are. His grandfather gives him a compass to help him not get lost again, saying that it is the Aralith family crest and will be useful if he decides to return. Arthur thanks him for it. At that moment, Arthur looks for Tessia but doesn't find her. As the gate Arthur will pass through opens, Tessia arrives at that moment, rushing to catch up with him. Then she asks him to take care of himself and make sure he eats enough food. Then she bids him farewell before he walks away. After that, we see Arthur when he arrives at the floating city of Xyrus. He reaches their house and can't believe he will see his father and mother again at last. When he knocks on the door, his parents open it, and he tells them that he has returned again. And so ends today's episode. If you liked the video, press like, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel and activate the bell button to receive all the latest updates. Our episode today begins with Arthur, who finally returns home to his family. Everyone is overjoyed but still in shock. His parents hug him, saying, "Welcome back, we missed you terribly." His mother and father both cry. His younger sister says, "Don't cry, Mommy." Arthur remembers the tragic day when his father told him, "Take your pregnant mother and run." But Arthur insisted he couldn't leave, that he could fight. His father, however, emphasized that he had to take his mother and flee to protect her as she was in her last month. We return to the present, and Arthur looks at his sister, who we learn is named Eleanor. They sit down, and his mother reassures herself about her dear son. She asks him, "How are you now? You said you were sick when you contacted us. Have you recovered, my son?" He tells her that thankfully he's fine, but she persists, as mothers do. She asks, "Were you eating enough? You look very thin." He tells her, "He's fine. Please don't interrogate me, Mother. The important thing is that I'm with you now." Then she calls Eleanor and asks her, "Do you remember when Dyson used to talk about your older brother always before you went to sleep?" She replies, "Yes, he used to tell me about you day and night." After things calmed down, Arthur told them everything except one thing, his meeting with Sylvia. As for Tess, he told them she was a beautiful and good girl. He explained that his illness was caused by the premature awakening of his mana core, which made it unstable. Regarding the little friend, he told them he found a monster's nest during his travels where Sylvie's mother was dying. "Unfortunately, I couldn't help her, so I took the little one and took care of her." Her name is Syl. His father then asks him what stage his mana core has reached. Arthur tells him that he has developed a lot, but then asks, "What are you doing now, Dad?" His father tells him that he works at Helstia Auction House, where he is the manager of their security team. As for the mana core's development, it turned orange 2 years ago. We know, my friends, that the colors of mana, in order, are black, then red, then orange, then yellow, then silver, then white. Similarly, each of them has 3 stages, dark, normal, and light. His father always developed himself and trained until he became that strong. His father repeats the question, "What stage have you reached, Arthur?" Arthur tells him that he is at light red. His father is happy because he is almost at his level, and his mother is also happy and encourages him. His father asks him again, "But tell me, Arthur, how did you manage to reach light red?" Arthur hesitates, then his father says, "Don't worry about it, I'll ask you again. But now, let's go to the backyard to spar." At that moment, a man with glasses enters. Arthur recognizes him as Vincent, the manager of the auction house and his boss. Arthur introduces himself and greets them. The beautiful girl with him is Lilia. Vincent says, "It's good that you came now. I was about to spar with Arthur. I hope you'll watch this strong spar. Let's go outside the house and watch what happens in detail." Lilia's father is surprised and says, "How can he be at the light red mana core stage? Even the geniuses aged 11 and 12 who enrolled in the prestigious Xyrus Academy barely reached the dark red stage." Then the father and son prepare for the big spar. At that moment, the fight between Arthur and his father begins. His father throws many punches, but Arthur manages to block them all. Arthur tries to strike back, but his father blocks his attack. His father teases him, telling him to put more effort into it. Arthur listens and unleashes much stronger attacks than before, actually managing to land a hit on his father. His father admits that Arthur got him when he lost focus, but he decides to fight seriously now. Just then, Arthur's father uses fire magic, which we see emanating from his hand. Arthur understands that mages in this world have elements that suit them. Conjurers learn and master the elements that align with them, while augmenters find it harder to clearly distinguish and only discover their compatible element after a great deal of effort. Arthur's father strikes him with great force. Arthur thinks to himself that while a lack of innate compatibility requires more effort, those efforts yield better results. He was lucky from birth in this world, and this is the cumulative result of all that. As his father continued to strike him with fire, Arthur decided to fight seriously as well. He used his own magic, his memories from his previous life, making his training with Virion over the years very fruitful, as he had greatly developed his skill in using the fire element. Then, Arthur uses advanced fire magic, shocking everyone. Arthur surprises them even more by also using the water element to extinguish his father's fire. Thus, the fight between Arthur and his father ends. His father asks him how he learned all this and what else he can do. Arthur replies that he only learned all this recently and can barely control it. All of this astonished everyone, as he was no ordinary boy, but a true genius. Afterward, Arthur, his father, and his father's friends sit down for dinner. Vincent speaks, asking Arthur's father how promising his son seems now. Arthur's father replies that he's known this since Arthur awakened his powers at the age of 3. Tabitha is amazed that his power manifested so early, and Arthur's mother adds that he blew up their house. Vincent then suggests that Arthur attends Xyrus Academy, the most prestigious academy on the continent. Tabitha continues, saying that given Arthur's qualifications, they would be pleased to invest in his future, so there's no need to worry about his tuition fees. Arthur's mother blushes, telling them they are already so generous, and now they are offering to cover Arthur's tuition. Vincent then says, I know the director of Xyrus Academy through my work. I can speak to her directly. Arthur, however, tells them there's something he wants to say. I appreciate your concern, but I haven't seen my family in a long time. The spar exhausted me more than I expected, so I'll take my leave. Arthur exits and walks away, encountering Lilia. She tells him, if you go that way, you'll end up in a graveyard. Follow me. I know the perfect place. Lilia then takes him to a restaurant and introduces him to her friends. Everyone welcomes him. Maria asks, is this the boy who burned the garden I spent so long caring for? Arthur apologizes for the trouble he caused. Lilia then asks an elderly woman, do we have any fatty duck meat in particular? Maria replies, be careful what you eat. The madam was angry after you gained weight recently. Lilia retorts, I thought we agreed not to discuss my weight. I'm a healthy girl in a growth spurt. Arthur then returns home, and his mother speaks to him, saying, I still can't believe you're back with us. You've grown so big and handsome. It doesn't matter that your appearance has changed. You're still our son. Arthur asks, do I look that different? His mother replies, inside, you're still the same kind and intelligent boy. His father tells him, yes, I'm certain you'll become the strongest mage in the future, but this is the second good news I've heard today. He reassures him about what Vincent said, explaining that it was all out of concern for him and their intentions weren't bad. The next day, Arthur notices his friends, who welcome him and apologize for leaving him alone. They talk, and Arthur learns they've returned from the city of Astatan. Darden says the pay was worth the trouble. Angela tells him, we undertook some missions on our way back and finally arrived. We visited many places we'd never been to before. Arthur thinks to himself, I understand. I don't know anything about the continent of Dicathan or the kingdom of Sabin. I'm becoming an adventurer to discover these things. It might not be a bad thing. This concludes today's episode of The Animate. Wait for us in the upcoming episodes. If you liked the video, don't forget to subscribe and activate the bell button to receive all new updates. Our episode today begins with Arthur dreaming or perhaps training for something, but it was incredibly difficult for him. He catches his breath and rests, then asks himself, was that recklessness or should I pursue a different option? But he also knows he must master this power because he cannot protect those he loves without it. Then the dragon comes to comfort him, as it loves him very much. The scene then shifts to the little dragon, whom Arthur was protecting. It smelled terrible, so he apologizes to it and then dries it off. At that moment, his family arrives and says, it's your turn, sweetie. We need to spruce up your look. They take him to the barber, who gives him a fantastic haircut. When he emerges from the barber shop, they are amazed by his beauty and elegance. His mother exclaims, you look so handsome. He's also very charming, thank goodness, he thinks. But she asks him, why am I doing all this? She tells him, I thought you should visit the auction house. It attracts Halstia so much that even members of the royal family come disguised. So we didn't want you to visit the place looking shabby. And now we'll show you the city of Xyrus. His younger sister congratulates him, saying, that's wonderful. His older sister, however, was filled with jealousy because Eleanor had surpassed her before his return, but now she cares more for her brother. After that, they tour the city buying things and clothes. They were truly happy and playing when he sees some students and asks who they are. They tell him they are students of Xyrus Academy. As Arthur reaches a place with crystals, he thinks to himself, I sense something. They enter and find monster cores, which are magical cores taken from mana beasts. They enhance the energy of the wielder, and their effects vary from core to core. If a core carries the will of a beast, its price rises to 100 gold pieces, which would be enough to live for 250 years in his homeland. Arthur is surprised, saying, 250 years? How wonderful. Afterward, Arthur's friend talks to her mother, wanting one of the cores, but her mother tells her they are very expensive and also not suitable for her age. You're still young, and I don't want to awaken your special power. Perhaps in the future. Then they move on to lunch at a restaurant where they have desserts and tea. Arthur talks to himself, saying that girl angered her mother, but she knows for a fact that her mother is afraid for her. Then she leaves, and he quickly follows her to see where she went. She enters the jewelry store again and thinks to herself, I can buy this with my allowance. Arthur enters after her and asks, what are you doing? Owning a monster core doesn't guarantee you anything. This is very dangerous, and your mother told you that. She replies, I won't know unless I try. He asks, what if you try and it doesn't work? She says, I've tried many things before. Another failure won't affect me. Lily was very angry and says, you're special, so you won't understand this. My parents will never let me touch a monster core, no matter how much I beg. Arthur realizes that he is the cause of her feeling pressured. She might be jealous of him. Then she tells him, leave me alone. She bumps into some young men who say to her, who are you, girl? We don't accept your apology. Do you think I'm just anyone? Arthur looks at them and notices their clothes and uniforms. The seller then asks them, what's all this commotion? When the young men see him, they backtrack on their words and say, do whatever you want. I was just passing by. They try to use their abilities on them. At that moment, the family and Lily's mother arrive and say, what are you doing? Leave this place immediately. The seller tells her, let them be. If you yell at them, they'll destroy my store and set it on fire. The kids leave, upset, and say, no, these people are important. We can't mess with them. These people are from the town's elite and can buy anything. After that, the family leaves and discusses the matter with her husband. He asks, how did all this happen? Has the town become so lawless? Lily then apologizes to her father, who tells her, there's no need to worry. This is a trivial matter, nothing to be concerned about at all. As for you, Arthur, this won't be a problem if you decide to join the academy, so don't worry or be sad. Lily gets upset and says, Father, do you want to send Arthur instead of me because I can't use supernatural abilities after all this time? How can you prefer him over me? Her father says, that's not what I meant, I swear. Her mother tells her, girl, what are you doing and saying? Calm down a bit. The girl gets angry and says to her father, I hate you and you too, Arthur. In the evening, he knocks on her door to tell her it's time for dinner, Lily, but she doesn't answer. He sees the man looking at him, and then a flashback to what happened in the past begins. Lily remembers as a child she would often say, I want to be a mage, and frequently ask her mother, when will I awaken my magic? Her mother would reply, there's no need to rush. This is normal for your age. We've made valuable donations to the academy. They'll save a seat for you there. And then Arthur comes to her and tells her that her parents are worried about her. He apologizes, thinking to himself, an apology can sometimes give the impression of arrogance, even if that's not the intent of the apologizer, especially when the one who has something apologizes to the one who lacks it. Lily then apologizes to him, saying, I felt jealous of you. You suddenly appeared with your amazing power and stole my father's attention. It's my fault because I haven't awakened my magic despite a lot of time passing. I'm sure my father is tired of me. Arthur is surprised, thinking to himself, I know that feeling, the cold, sinking feeling of drowning in self-blame. I know what I must do now. He tells her, you know that's not true. I also see how hard you try. When I was separated from my parents, a girl uplifted my spirits. He then uses his magic and a white beam of light emerges from his hand. He tells her, this is how the same girl introduced herself to me. These are my favorite flowers. As for your expectations of him being like Eleanor, he finds me interesting because I appeared suddenly. Lily talks to him, saying, my father wants me to become a mage because he wants me to be happy and he'll donate to the academy for the same reason. But I've started to feel pressured on my own. Arthur then thinks it's not that simple. The more Vincent does to achieve this, the more unrelated people place their hopes on her. The result is clear, so it's the best thing to do. He then asks her if she wants to use magic. However, the scene changes, and Arthur is at home, informing them that Lily will be leaving. Lily's father is surprised to learn that Lily has left the house. Arthur tells them that she did it to awaken her magic. I sent Lily to where I used to train. There's no need to worry. It's a wonderful place, I promise you. Lily's father says angrily, "That's not the problem! Why would she do this without asking us?" Arthur replies, "That's what she wanted. She said she hesitated to talk to you first." He gives them a letter. Her father reads the paper, which says, "As long as I can't use magic, I'm a burden to you. I promise you that I will become an amazing mage no matter how long it takes. Then I will return to your side. Take good care of yourselves." Lily's father is very sad and falls to the ground. Lily's father says, "I impose my beliefs on her that being a mage would guarantee her a beautiful future. She doesn't need to become a mage. Even without magic, she's still my daughter whom I love." Lily then comes and apologizes for lying to them. Arthur says, "I know losing a child is a pain worse than death for parents, especially after I made my parents suffer for the same reason. I understand that it's shameful to test you this way." Lily's father says, "It's okay, it's my fault." He then speaks to Arthur's father, saying, "I was inconsiderate. I tried to send your son, who is finally home, to the academy. I want you to accept my apology." He then speaks to Lily, saying, "You don't have to join the academy. Even if you're not a mage, I promise to make you happy." Lily says sadly, "I still want to join the academy. Even if I'm not capable of doing it now, I want to learn magic. I want to become a mage who helps others, just like Arthur." Lily's father is happy. Then her mother tells her, "I know you can succeed." Arthur then says, "I will awaken Lily's power." After that, we see Arthur with Lily and his younger sister telling them, "The first step relates to your breathing." Both are surprised. He then thinks to himself, "Mana leaves a stronger impression when breathing in a focused and meditative way. I hope I can convey this to them." Then he tells them, "Breathe deeply, then exhale slowly. Inhale deeply, then exhale slowly. Now close your eyes. Keep doing this until you see a light in the darkness." Arthur's sister sees a light, but Lily doesn't see anything. He tells her there's no need to rush, continue breathing. Finally, Lily sees this gentle light, like the flower Arthur showed me. Then the scene shifts to the restaurant, and everyone celebrates with Lily, placing all her favorite food in front of her. Arthur tells Lily, "It might take 2 or 3 years for your power to stabilize. It will be a strenuous effort, but try your best every day." This is how today's episode of This Anime ends. Wait for us in the upcoming episodes. If you liked the video, don't forget to subscribe and activate the bell icon to receive all that's new.